All right, and welcome to REI Live.
Recording in
We are
progress.
live. Hello, hello, everybody out there. Welcome, Stefano. We should be live right now. Hey, let's talk about real estate investing as a business and some of the things that are challenges for us trying to grow. So let me explain it this way. Years ago, my mom used to own a restaurant. If you know what a restaurant is like, well, then everybody's working in the restaurant. My mom is growing this restaurant. And so the benefit of owning a restaurant is that she would make pies. And so when mom would make pies, by the way, mom won a pie contest, best pies in Southwestern Ontario. All right, proven by the Cotton Pie Festival. True story. The good news when your mom makes pies for a living and has a restaurant for a living is what? When you're a kid and you want to eat some pie, are you going to go to the A&P and buy a pie? Absolutely not. You're going to go home to mom's restaurant and you're going to get some of the best apple strudel pie that you can get, right? Strawberry rhubarb pie. Like these are delicious pies. You know, everything homemade from scratch, very little sugar, very high taste, very high quality ingredients. And if so, that's what you know, this is how this works, then we have to think about this a little bit differently. When it comes to real estate investing, I think about this very similar to mom's restaurant. If I want to own real estate and I want to have some really good quality real estate, well, then what do? I think what you need to do is you need to start a real estate investing business. And as a result, because you're in the business of deals and in the business of capital and the business of real estate, you get some of the best deals for yourself. If you want a great tasting pie, hang around the pie store. You know, like the end of the day, when you got extra pies laying around, nobody needs those pies. You can just get you some pies. It's delicious. It's nutritious. And so with real estate, it very much is the same thing. So when we think about growing a real estate business, it kind of works the same way. Let me kind of map this out. What's the critical mistake I see over and over year after year in students? And by the way, I have purchased 300 properties so far. Many of you know that, some of you don't. How did you do that? What was required for you to do that? Well, let's kind of go through the two options of getting deals and growing a real estate business. Let's go through this. Many people, when they get started, they say, all right, I want to buy a house. And so when I go to buy a property, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save some money, and I'm going to hire a salesperson called a realtor. And so what they do is the realtor goes and looks for options. You know, you get three choices. Anybody ever watch that TV show where it's like, she works at Starbucks, he walks dogs. Together, they're going to buy an $800,000 home in Brampton. You guys know what I'm talking about? The HGTV homes. And so they only get how many options? Three. And there's always conflict. And I used to watch the show saying, why isn't there a fourth option? You know, like this house is too small. This one, the backyard is weird. This house smells funny, but they got to choose. They have to compromise. And then I'm like, where's the fourth option? Why would they have to compromise? Why not just go find another house? I guess TV doesn't work that way. So, but this is what most people do. They save their money, so they end up getting a down payment. They talk with a realtor, and they end up making a decision to buy a piece of real estate. And so more or less, it's a series of compromises. It costs you a lot of your own capital. You had to go and pick one of three, one of four, one of five houses. And so this right here, for everybody watching online, is called the consumer process. And this is what most people do. They call it real estate investing. All right. And so the truth is that it's not investing, it's real estate consumption. That's it. You bought a house just like you bought a new car. Same methodology, same idea. The financing you used was used for consuming. The process you used was for a consumer. And so this word right here is the operative confusing word, which is the word investing. Is real estate a good investment? This is the question. Or is it a bad investment? Interesting question. Good investment, bad investment. Well, let's define kind of what investing is in layman's terms. You take a dollar, you put your money into something, and whatever you put your money in should produce for you $2 on the back end. And so you put money in, something happens, then you get money back out. That's the word investing. And so for those of you who do real estate investing and you basically park your money into real estate, we can argue that it's not a bad investment. In fact, some years it's growing 2 to 4% annualized. In other years, in very aggressive bull markets, it could be as high as 5 or 10 or even 15% in recent years in Canada. So real estate is not a bad investment. It depends on the year, depends on the cycle. Would you agree? So real estate investing, the word investing is the tricky operative word. That's the confusing word. And so what do we do then? How do we get to 300 properties? I can tell you it had nothing to do with the word investing. There's the secret. So there's another dynamic. There's another choice. So if real estate investing is complicated, by the way, why is it complicated? It's right here because it requires this. You have to have money to invest. And so a lot of people get confused and they go, well, how am I supposed to buy 200 properties? You don't invest in 200 properties because you don't have the money to buy 200 properties. Real estate is a business where the predominant benefit is one word called leverage. And so leverage is what we understand. The problem is leverage has like a bridge. And the bridge is between the consumer process and what we call the business process. And so what I'm here to tell you is that, hey, I'm not here to invest in pies. I'm here to launch a business that makes the pies. And so I can have as many residual pies as I want. So the challenge with most people is they have this consumer context. The framework that they're using was designed to help their mom and dad buy a home or them buy a home. It was not designed to buy hundreds and hundreds of properties. There's a business process. And so the business process is nothing like the consumer process. Here's what I mean by that. Number one, if we want to buy a property, it's now called an asset. And it's called an asset really for a couple reasons. The first reason is that it has to produce or capture this word called equity. Equity is what creates wealth. Just to be very clear, there's a lot of people at home watching this, and I get a lot of confused audience members, and they go, well, Ben, what about cash flow? And I would tell you in the year 2026, real estate is a terrible cash flow business. The properties are too expensive. Anybody agree with that? It's like I bought a rental, I can't cash flow. You're not going to. You didn't do anything wrong. You're just late. You're too late to the party. You should have bought 20 years ago. If you weren't around 20 years ago, that's the problem. And so real estate doesn't cash flow. That's the issue with it. And so we don't want to use the cash flow to create our lifestyle because it won't have enough cash flow. But what real estate can do is it can give you equity. This is the operative word. Equity equals wealth. And so the property has to have that. That's to be called an asset. It has to have some value. So equity is, you can do equity two ways. You can capture equity, which is what I like to do, or you can wait and it can grow. So you can collect it, capture it, or it can grow over time. I like both. I want to capture equity right away, and I want to wait for it to grow long term. It's two different functions. So it has to have some equity. Great. That's amazing. The other thing that makes it an asset to me, in my opinion, is not just the ability to capture equity, but also the ability to increase the value or the price. And we can do this in real estate with operations. Often cases, we can buy a piece of real estate, we can improve the property, and by improving the property, we increase the price. That's what happens in operations. So real estate is a great business in terms of following the business system. So what is the business system? First, we have to have a marketing and sales machine that does one clear thing, which is capture equity. My friend Shelly Blank is with me today, and Shelly is doing a great job with this. They're capturing equity. Shelly and her husband, Eugene. Yes, we are live, by the way. Shelly and Eugene have done a really solid job in the last few months. They are on their second property here. And so they've captured equity on these deals. I've watched Shelly personally negotiate the property and get a good price and then negotiate again and got more of a good price. And so Shelly and Eugene are following the business process, and they will never go back to doing this old way. So marketing and sales should get you opportunities. That's what it should do. Plenty of opportunities. Once you have opportunities, your job is to negotiate, because when you negotiate, you capture equity. And so once you capture equity, the whole world opens to you. So what does this mean if you're watching us online for the first time? If a property is worth $500,000, our job is to buy this thing at 70 to 80% of market value. And so we are capturing, this would mean we're buying it at $350,000 to $400,000. Well, Ben, that means that you guys are trying to capture $100,000 to $150,000 when you guys buy a property. Yes, we are. You see, the business of real estate is to capture equity. And so when you capture $150,000 of equity, you have tremendous opportunity. Whereas most people will try to capture $150 a month of cash flow. 150 bucks, Shelly, or 150 grand? It's not even in the same league. Not even close. So we're marketing and doing sales to capture opportunities. From opportunities, we are negotiating to capture equity. Once we have equity, it's simple. We can either cash in the equity, which means sell. We can sell. We can cash in the equity by improving and selling. And so that's back to that forced appreciation. Okay. Or we can proceed and get cash flow by keeping the equity. And so our model is quite straightforward. We are in the business of getting deals. We are in the business of being able to capture value in negotiations. Now, if we do that consistently, we get to unlock the next awesome benefit of real estate, which is this. I only have two rules. Rule number one is always get a deal. I will go probably to the grave saying this. Always get a deal. There's no other way. There's no other way around this topic. You have to get a deal. If you don't get a deal, you're in a negative position. If you get a deal, then you get access to something else, which is called OPM. And OPM stands for other people's money. Remember, we're business owners. And so business owners are raising money all the time for their business. Now, can we go to the bank to do this? Probably. But should we? Maybe not. Because what do we want? We want other people's money to grow our real estate, and we don't want to qualify for it. How do we justify it? Because that's the hard question for new people. Ben, how do you justify this? Well, it's quite simple. If the property is worth 500 and we did our job, and which means we got the property for 350, well, then we've captured $150,000 of equity. Equity equals safety. Because if we do a deal with someone and they finance the deal, and then the property's worth 500 grand, and all of a sudden the market starts to drop, well, we bought it for 350. And so we have plenty of equity that protects the lender's investment. Now, this might be basic for some of y'all, so let's go up a step. You cannot become uber successful in real estate unless you get deals and unless you leverage capital. Now, I know some people will say, well, Ben, I did everything with my own cash. And I'm proud of the fact that I've never taken a dollar and I have 20 units. And so let's kind of map this out. So let's just say we have person number one, and person one says, well, Ben, I have $100,000 salary. I have lived on rice and beans, and so I'm only spending $20K per year, and then I'm taking $80,000 and I'm buying a house every single year with my $80,000. And so, Ben, I'm the best investor of all time. I don't take debt. I have no partners. It's just me, myself, and I. Great. Awesome. And so 5 years ago, you bought a house for 200,000. And so great, 80,000 bucks went there. And then the house went to 250, and then you put 80 grand, and then it went to 300, and then you put 80 grand, and then it went to 450, and then you put 80 grand, and then it went to 550, and then you put 80 grand. Right. And so all you're doing, because you are waiting so long, is you are inevitably just paying more for each property. That's all you've done. You're not a better investor. You're just paying more. You're paying more because you could have purchased 5 houses in the first year with 80 grand, but you chose to buy 5 houses over 5 years. Instead of buying 5 houses for 200,000 and having a total expense of $1 million, you have decided to buy one for here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here. And if I do this math, I don't know what it is, but let's just say you paid 1.7 for the same real estate you could have bought for 1 million. So time doesn't make it less risky. Time just means you're going to pay more. And so when I meet investors like, well, I kind of missed the boat. Last year, I could have bought it for less. 10 years ago, I could have bought it for less. I know. And guess what's going to happen next year? So trying to time the market is really a false narrative. Like, you trying to pick the perfect timing is not how the business works. In the business of real estate, it really is marketing and sales to capture leads. And what do we have to do? We have to create an offer-rich environment. Well, Ben, I don't want to be in business. Business sounds hard. Business is work. Business is difficult. I know it's difficult. At the same time, here's the question. Are you willing to work your 9 to 5 job and pay 30, 35, whatever, 40% in taxes, and then take your after-tax dollars and save 20% of the purchase of a home, which is tens of thousands of dollars, like 40 grand, 50 grand, 80 grand? Do you really feel that over the course of your life, you saving your way, buying 3, 4 properties is any better from a financial outcome than you actually learning how to grow your business in the first year? Because in 1 year or less, you can grow a business. Shelly's doing it. Bernard is doing it. Rianka's doing it. We've got people in our community doing it. Why not you? Waiting and taking longer isn't actually better. We have this perception around risk, like, hey, if I start a business, it's risky. No, no, no. Paying full price for real estate is risky. You're just not seeing the full cost of it in front of you because we're just not doing the math. If you realize, if you've purchased a property already so far and you have not done the business process and you have made anything less than 5 offers to buy a house, what I'm telling you is you overpaid. You might not think you overpaid. You might think you got a deal, but that's the false narrative that helps you sleep at night. This is why I trigger people sometimes. Until you have real competitive market tension, meaning making offers, getting responses, dealing with the friction is the cash. You have to negotiate to get the deal. A deal doesn't just present itself most of the time. Some people think that, these are called lay down deals, like the deal just lays down and says, take me. It doesn't work like that. You're going to have to put in some sweat equity. You're going to have to really push yourself to get a really good quality deal. So I guess what it comes down to is this: is it worth it? Is it worth growing a business in the first year so that you can get deals for the rest of your career? That's the question. Even if it takes you an entire year, what else would you have done in that year? Work your 9 to 5? You're going to live anyways. You're going to work anyways. You're going to try to shoot for something anyways. Why not shoot for financial freedom instead of financial maybe stability? This is where we have to align our efforts and our understanding. It's like, well, Ben, launching a business is hard. I know it's hard. I respect that it's hard. And to a degree, let me say this for the audience that's seeing us for the first time. I don't want it to be easy. If it was easy, I wouldn't have made $1 million by 30. If it was easy, everybody would own 300 properties. If it was easy, there was no purpose to my struggle and my learning over the past almost 20 years. And so, you know what? I love you, but I'm glad it's hard. Because when people hear me speak this, a majority of people are going to go, all right, well, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. He bought a lot of real estate, but I don't like this guy. You don't like this guy because what I'm telling you isn't easy to do. And it sounds better if somebody goes, you can do it. It's easy. Run, Forrest. You got this. Just do it. It's not easy. It's going to be hard. It will challenge you. It will stress you. And if you didn't get gray hair buying real estate, you didn't buy enough. Okay? I got gray hairs everywhere. I'm lucky I'm blonde. Dirty blonde. It's a real dirty blonde, by the way. So if you have some gray hairs, say hallelujah. That means you're working. That means things are growing and you're maturing. If you got no hair, you're probably a better investor than the one with gray hair. Right? And so that's what it is. If your forehead and the top of your head looks like my kneecaps, you're winning, right? No hair. No problem. So don't be discouraged. Be encouraged that building a business is hard. But it's the idea that we have to, if we care about this success, we have to move it forward every single day. And there will be challenges. But remember, the principles don't change. When you feel the tendency to pull back and say, I don't want to use OPM, I'll use my own money, you are reverting back to the consumer version of how this works. And unfortunately, the challenge I have is a lot of people want to live in both worlds. Ben, I want to have 30 properties, but I want to do it the consumer way. Not going to happen. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how high your income is. You have to look at the basic computable math. And so what is the basic computable math? Well, when you go to the bank is going to restrict and limit what you can do with real estate because the bank was not designed to help you become rich. The bank's trying to become rich. You're the customer. Okay? You're not the bank's partner. You're the customer, regardless of whatever their logo says. And so the bank's going to say to you, hey, we've made a formula And that formula is called the total debt service ratio. And what that means is that if you make $10,000 a month in income, well, then we will allow you, in terms of a budget, let's call it a financial budget, we're going to allow you to spend up to 42% per month on what? On mortgage, on taxes, on insurance, and in some cases, the TDSR includes things like heating. And so as long as these things are less than 4,200, then you'll qualify. And so you're thinking on the very first deal, awesome, I got it. I can go buy my first house. And then what happens is you buy one house and you create what's called a false positive. And you go, well, I bought my first house with this method. Yes, you did. Congratulations, because your TDSR, your total expenses were $2,200 a month, including all these things. And you're like, okay, I'm crushing it. And then you go get the second house. You're like, all right, I got the second house and I was able to get it cheaper. And so now I've got $2,000 between these two, and you forgot to add them up. And when you add them up, this equals $4,200 a month. And then you get a raise at your job. And so you make a little bit more money. And so from $10,000, you're now making $11,000 a month, and you're making 11 grand. And if I do the math on that, 11,000 means that you have a total TDSR of 4,600 now, 4,620. And so you're like, cool. And then the next house, you go to buy it, you get it under contract. Your realtor is like, you're going to have your third rental. You're crushing it. You're better than rich dad, poor dad. You are the rich dad. You're the genius. You're the best guy ever. And then all of a sudden you go to the bank and they say, well, I got a raise, and so I definitely qualified. And then guess what happens to you? You get denied. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Anybody ever been denied? Yeah. It's very frustrating, and you take it personally, and you're like, but I have income, but I'm responsible, but I have a good credit score, but I've had my job for 3 years. But the bank basically said, nope, that's it. You get 2 houses. You're done. You know what this is called? Financial communism. You can stand in a bread line and you can get 1 house, but you got to stand in that line for 20 years. Because I know what communism feels like. I come from a communist country. You got to wait all night. You would line up at like 5 p.m., maybe to get a half loaf of bread and some milk the next morning. And so you're going to stand in this financial bread line here, getting 1 house, maybe 2 houses, and then you're cut off and then denied. And so what happens is people get very discouraged here, or they get empowered. So my advice to you, and I've got a special guest I'm going to bring on to share with us what's going on in their business, because they're following this model and they're doing it the right way, is that we have to get away from this concept that somehow consumerism and business development, or the business process, somehow they synergize. They do not synergize, my friends. And if they synergize, then it's to your detriment. So here's the good news. You don't need any income to buy real estate. You need activity. You have to get out into the marketplace and make calls. You have to get deals under contract. You have to build your skills, but you don't need income. I have a friend of mine. She got like 3 mortgages, 80 to 100% financing pretty quickly. And she was like, this is great. And then she went to another property and she was like, having to do it last minute. She's like, maybe I'll just go to the broker or the bank and see what they say. And then you go to the broker and the bank and she's like, oh boy, they want all this stuff. They want my income, right? They want to know my credit score. What a bunch of financial perverts. Like, they want all this stuff. I don't want to give all that stuff. I know, but that's what consumer financing is. Okay. They need to know everything and everyone that you know, and then they'll decide if you're worthy. But you know what? I got a God who made me worthy the way that I am. And so I don't need your bank financing. There's a bigger and better way. And so I'm thankful that we're able to build an incredible community where people come and they're working towards their business every single day. And so I'm proud of folks that are taking massive action in our group. You know, many of them. And so what I'd like to do is, are you empowered? Are you encouraged? You are in the right place. Let me remind you. You are doing the right thing. Let me remind you. Okay. It will be hard. So I will remind you. And so it's not going to come easy, but it's going to come. It might be slow. One of our friends did his very first deal. It took him 18 months. He's now done thousands of real estate acquisitions, thousands, not hundreds. And so even if it takes you 18 months, it's better than working a 9-to-5 job for 18 years trying to buy 3 rental properties. Remember, the wealth is this. Robert Kiyosaki said, we had him interviewed at one of our revival events. Here it is. Boom. This is his book. And he said that going forward, they're going to keep printing money. And he says that the middle class is disappearing. That's wild for Canadians and Americans. The middle class is disappearing. The wealthy become wealthier and the middle class become the poor. If you don't own assets, it's the one thing that will protect you. How do you know? Look at the inflationary cost and value of asset growth. Why do you think something like Bitcoin would go from 1,000 to 100,000 down to 60 up to 120? Why is it growing so fast? Because the conviction, the confidence is running away from the United States and the Canadian dollar and into hard assets. Why does real estate grow so aggressively in Canada, or has from 2010, 11 to 2022? Why did it grow exponentially? Because Canadians need something to put their cash into to protect it from long-term capital instability that happens in the money markets. And so the dollar is not the asset you should be chasing. Real estate ownership is the asset you should be chasing. More real estate. Here's the last thing I'll give you. AUM, assets under management. I think it's very cool to think about your portfolio, whether that be single family, multifamily, or commercial, from the standpoint of AUM. If you have $5 million of real estate that you've been able to acquire, and that real estate is simply growing and appreciating at 10% per year, then that's $500,000 a year of growth while you sleep. By the way, that's the passive real estate people talk about. When people talk about passive cash flow, I want to reframe that. It's not really passive cash flow. It's quite misleading. It's passive equity. Cash flow is nothing passive about cash flow. You need a tenant. They got to pay. You got to unclog toilets. At the end of the month, hopefully there's some money left to go into your bank account, assuming you don't have a new roof. Any landlords know what I'm talking about? It's not passive. It's an active business. You know what's passive? Equity growth. Equity growth, as we talk about appreciation, you don't manipulate. It just grows because the market grows. And so if you have 5 million of real estate, it goes up 10% a year. You're making 500,000. And so if you want passive growth, it comes through equity growth. And so that means you need more real estate. Okay. That's the point. On that note, we have some friends of mine. Is that cool? We have some friends of mine here with us today. I've got my friend Eugene Blank with me. I'm going to pull him into a conversation here. Eugene, welcome.
Hi, Ben. Hi, everybody.
How you doing?
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Hey, I want to ask you, so you guys have owned some multifamily investments for a while. And so we met just over a year ago, I think now. And how has your mind shifted being in this community as it relates to finding deals and the way that you leverage capital? Give us some of your thoughts and some of your mindset shift.
It's actually very, very accurate description. What shifted in our business, it's mostly the mindset. Because I catch myself trying to improve our business, but I found that without improving your mindset, you can't go any further. So this year it was incredibly well, and we learned a lot. We also learned how to change our mindset. It doesn't mean I complete it. I'm still working on it, but it's completely different from 1 year ago. And I can say that working on your business and not in your business, delegating some tasks to other people, sharing other people time, other people money, other people experience. Some people smarter than me. So I can integrate that in my business, and that will be grateful for them and for me. So yeah, I'm grateful, Ben, for what we learned for this year.
You guys have done a great job. And I would say the community has been a very supportive piece for you guys, right?
Yes, absolutely. This community is awesome. And so many positive, same mind people. We just had on the weekend, South Ontario meeting that Bernard organized. That was awesome. We're planning to do additional meeting in the next 2-3 weeks. also to see people, because although we most of the time meet on Zoom, but to meet in person and in sunny sky, Arizona, that's amazing. That experience you cannot replace with anything else.
I think so. And you have been here in our home, working with other students a few different times. What advice would you have for somebody brand new? 5 times you've been here.
Yes.
5 times. What advice do you have for somebody brand new? Like, you guys already had some units before we met you. You have apartment building, you have a bunch of units. If somebody has a couple of units and they want to scale, can you shed some of your experience? Give some advice here for somebody watching and just trying to figure it out.
Well, I think without community, you can succeed. You need to work very hard, but you need to work hard anyway. With community, it's not easier, it's just more supportive. We've been in Arizona 5 times in your home, and I think every time we go, we'll feel a family. We feel a personal connection that's not replaceable.
Well, I think it's so good to do life with people, right?
Yes, yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Doing real estate alone is hard, isn't it?
Very hard.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need somebody to, get your ideas across, and somebody else can hear what you're thinking and see if it makes sense. And, there's a lot of decisions, and you can create decision fatigue pretty easily. So it's great to have somebody to go, what do you think about this? I'm working on this problem. I'm working on this deal. Having somebody in your corner, helping you. You and Shelly have done a great job. It's awesome to have your sons in the business as well. Many of you guys know Yuval Blank. And so Yuval has also been down here and spent some time. And the fact that you've been in the group here for several months here, there's newer people kind of looking up to you and people thinking about joining our community. So for somebody brand new, Eugene, who doesn't have any deals, and you have your whole family in the business, what piece of tactical advice can you give them for, like, maybe how to get started, or what they should be thinking about reading or otherwise?
Well, it's a longer way journey. And I think the most important thing, it's not too afraid to start. It's very important to talk to people about what you like to do, the right people. And to choose right people, you need to be in the right community. Mm-hmm. But also, for me, one of my strategies to succeed is not to see the entire staircase of climbing. I only trying to concentrate on a couple of stairs in front of me, because otherwise the staircase is too big, and it's very difficult to imagine how you can climb there. But couple of stairs I can do. So by doing couple of stairs, I can actually succeed to climb the staircase. So I think start from small and talk to the right people, be in the right community, and not afraid to fail. But every time you fall, stand up and go forward. Just fall forward.
And just don't quit, right?
Don't quit. Don't quit.
Literally, just don't quit. Keep moving forward. 1 year of, 1 year of stress in building your business is better than a lifetime of regret. I'm just telling you. 1 year of stress is better than a lifetime of regret, because all of you are very capable. If you live in Canada right now, you're very capable of buying real estate. It's a great market. It's soft in most of the country, which means there's opportunities. And so, Eugene, you're with your wife, Shelly. She's here as well. Hello, Shelly.
Hello.
There we go. Let's get you on mute real quick.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Ben.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. All right. We're very proud of you guys. You guys are pushing your business forward. You are not quitting. You are moving it forward. You got 2 properties and 2 deals already. First one you've already closed a while ago. You're working on the second deal. And so, Shelly, we're excited to learn about your business here and get to know you guys a little bit better. And so I'm going to have you guys kind of jump in and share what's going on in your world, your business, your deals. So go ahead and just jump right in. Introduce yourselves first, if you can, for the new people. And let's get some more information on your business.
Yeah. Well, do you want? I have a whole presentation.
Go for it. Jump in.
Yeah, you want me
Yeah.
to start the presentation
Go
now?
for it. Yeah,
Oh,
go for it.
wow, cool. Yeah.